Thank you for watching and listening to a new edition of Inside the Pylon. Fidel Barraza here, along with Chris Arzola. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up? Happy Sunday. Football's officially upon us with the Hall of Fame game that started this past week. And obviously, we're set for our full slate of games this coming week as far as starting the preseason off. So yeah, excited, man. Football's here.
Yeah, Chris, I cannot wait. It seems like it's been a while since football's been on,
Yeah.
but now we're gonna get the games, Thursday and then the rest of the weekend. And
hmm
before you know it, it's gonna be week one. So
yeah. It's upon us, man. It's coming in hot. Three preseason games, and then the regular season's here.
yeah, we do have a new sponsor for the show. So let's go and talk about Black MP Living Water. Got it right there. It's really healthy water for you. And of course, you can visit them on blackandp.com and use promo code Inside the Pylon to get an additional 35% off your purchase today. So make sure you guys go on there and get an order in.
Yep.
All right, Chris. So obviously, rookie QBs were drafted this year in the draft with
hmm
Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. So let's talk about who we think is going to have more success this season.
Yeah, I mean, this was tough. Obviously, me and you were kind of just going back and forth talking about this, and um, I think it's going to be CJ Stroud. I mean, one of the things that I liked all year long was the different um, moves that they made in the offseason. I thought that they did a great job of surrounding this young quarterback with some veterans, some people that are, stable. Obviously, the biggest one that comes to mind right now, just looking at the roster, Dalton Schultz. Obviously, he's been a big key for Dak Prescott the past several years. As far as being like a nice safety blanket for, Dak Prescott. So now bringing in someone like CJ Stroud that can move outside the pocket, very accurate quarterback as well. I think that um, he gets a good safety net for CJ Stroud. So I do think that CJ Stroud probably will have the best year out of all the rookie quarterbacks. To be real with you, that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. The only thing that I'm kind of wondering is if Anthony Richardson is going to start week one or it's going to be Gardner Minshew. So
Yeah,
Anthony Richardson obviously has a lot of upside. I
yeah,
mean, we know that it's just training camp, but I mean, some of the throws he's was able to make
yeah.
and whatnot. So he might start week one, but who knows if the Colts want to do that, especially with their running back situation right now with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, but from everything, all reports too that I'm hearing, right? I mean, Michael Pittman Jr., obviously their best wide receiver as well. They've had a good connection throughout training camp. Anthony Richardson has been taking first reps with the first team the past basically week. So we'll kind of see what happens, but I think he has a ton of upside. And again, when Michael Pittman Jr. is coming out and pretty much kind of saying, hey, you know what, this young guy's got what it had, or what it takes to be an NFL quarterback. I like the connection that me and him have. You know, I think Garner Minshew could just be just that bridge quarterback, that person that just kind of, sets Anthony Richardson up, let him know what it is to be an NFL quarterback, and maybe he starts week one. Anthony Richardson comes in week one and starts, and pretty much you get the opportunity the entire season to see what you have in Anthony Richardson. But I like his upside.
Yeah, here's what I'm thinking is that maybe Gardner does start, but they'll have package plays for Anthony to go in there and make some throws and make some runs, and eventually you're going to hear the crowd and they're going to want to see Anthony Richardson and not Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, when you draft someone as high as Anthony Richardson, you give up picks and everything like that to move up to get him, right? I mean, I think it's in the best interest of the organization to get him out there early, to see again what you have. They're not paying him anything, so obviously they can start building around him as far as different pieces, different things like that. Obviously, they have a great O line. They did pick up Isaiah McKenzie this past year too, as well. That's going to be a nice little safety blanket for Anthony Richardson in the slot. But again, I like Michael Pittman Jr. and Michael Pittman Jr. likes the connection that him and Anthony Richardson are having. So again, we know what Gardner Minshew is, right? So why not put the young kid out there week one, see what he has?
In my opinion, Jonathan Taylor being there is going to be a huge part of how successful Anthony Richardson would be this season. So Best case scenario is that they get everything resolved and not trade Jonathan Taylor.
I mean, yeah, man, we're talking one of the best, one of the best runners in the league for sure. Obviously, there's been tons of discussion as far as running backs. Obviously, there was news that they did sign Kenyon Drake to a 1 year deal as well. So, what does that mean? That are they just adding a little bit of depth? They do obviously have Zach Moss
He
as well.
broke his hand, Chris. And he's
Oh,
gonna be
that's
out.
right.
He's gonna
That's
be out
okay. So,
6 weeks.
yeah. So Kenyon Drake comes in, right? So, I mean, they're obviously adding some depth, but yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor definitely has um, a lot to do with the success of Anthony Richardson. The other thing too is Anthony Richardson. He's a mobile quarterback, So does that take away from some of the rushing attempts from Jonathan Taylor? Does that take some of the rushing yards away from Jonathan Taylor? Like, so that's something to kind of think about as well when they're sitting there and they're talking about discussions as far as contracts and about the wear and tear, what's going to happen to Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, he's been injured the past couple of years. He's on the pup list right now. So I think there's a lot to kind of to think about because Anthony Richardson is that guy where he's going to definitely, I think, take some carries away and take some yards away from Jonathan Taylor. But I think that's a good thing, right? I think that's a good thing because right, it's these running backs are being devalued because of the amount of carries they're getting, the amount of yards they're getting, the amount of hits that are getting put on them each and every year. And so the fact that you can have a young guy come in, take a little bit of carries and take a little bit off of Jonathan Taylor's plate, I think that could be a good thing for the team. To be real with you.
Yeah, and then Bryce Young, obviously the situation in Carolina, Frank Wright's there now.
Yeah.
Just the way that that division is right now. I mean, obviously you would say that the Saints would be favored to win, right? But I mean, I think Carolina might be able to make a little bit of a push.
Yeah, I mean, again, they got Hayden Hurst, and again, Hayden has been a great safety blanket for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. They did pick up Adam Thielen as well from Minnesota. Just kind of an older, established wide receiver. I think he can still give some value there for Bryce Young. DJ Chark, we know what he's capable of out of Detroit. He's been putting up some numbers the past couple years. So I think that he has a good surrounding cast as far as older players that um, kind of been around and
Yeah.
established, right? But I mean, again, I guess we'll see what happens. I think this all does revolve around the running game as well. I do like the pickup of Miles Sanders. I think that's going to add some depth there with Chuba Hubbard. So I think that 1-2 punch is going to be good in the backfield. And I think that's going to help Bryce Young a little bit as far as the running game. Not basically add so much pressure for him. 8 men in the box type of thing,
Yeah.
and then obviously Hayden Hurst down the middle. In the tight end position, I think he's going to kind of give him, like I said, a nice safety blanket that he gave Joe Burrow for so many years in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and then let's talk about the other quarterback, Will Levis. Obviously, right now is a backup to Ryan Tannehill.
Yep.
At some point, I believe we are going to see Will Levis play. I don't know what week that's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there either. Reports are from even Mike Vrabel down to the teammates is that Will Levis is really kind of coming in. He's showing his leadership skills. He's showing the type of guy that he is, as far as willing to work, put in the hours as far as what it takes to be an NFL quarterback. So again, this is like a situation with the Colts, right? Eventually, I think the crowd and I think everybody's going to want to take Ryan Tannehill out and it's going to want to put Will Levis in to see what they have, right? Last year, last year with the injuries and stuff, they got to put in Malik Willis. They saw kind of what Malik Willis was,
Not
that I
very
think,
much, Chris. I
yeah,
was not impressed.
yeah, I think that's a project and still a project for many, many years to come. Are they going to keep him? Are they going to release him? Are they going to trade him? What's going to really happen on that front too? But I think eventually too, it's going to be like a Colt scenario where I think they're going to eventually want to see Will Levis and see what he has as the young guy. And eventually, I think that's what's going to happen. And they can make a decision on Ryan Tannehill if they're going to trade him or what they're going to do eventually, maybe probably later on down the line during the season.
Yeah, so we obviously know they have a really good running game with Derrick Henry, and then they just signed DeAndre Hopkins a couple
Yep.
weeks back, so that would definitely help out Will
Yep.
to start off. But I think it might be towards the end of the season.
I think it's going to be towards the end of the season too. I don't see him kind of coming in right away again. Um, when you have the veteran leadership as you do as Ryan Tannehill, he's been there for many years already. He's an established quarterback. Again, I just think eventually they're going to want to see what they have in Will Levis, and I think that could be later on for sure, in the season and stuff. And I do like the emergence of Traylon Burks too. So I mean, with DeAndre Hopkins and Traylon Burks on both sides, I
Yeah,
think it's going to be really great for Will Levis for honestly probably for a couple years to come at least.
I'm interested to see who's going to start the game for Tennessee this week. It's going to be Malik Willis. Is going to be
I think it's
uh,
gonna be. I think it's gonna be Will Levis. I think they're gonna give him a shot right off the back again. From everything I'm hearing, as far as during training camp, he's taking a little bit more snaps than Malik Willis. I think he's getting more talk as far as teammates within the building, as far as his leadership skills, as far as obviously him, his passing skills, different things like that. So I think they're going to probably put him first, and I think it's just going to probably be maybe a mixture. Maybe they start off with Will Levis this game, maybe Malik Willis starts next game, that type of thing. But I think it's going to be a 50-50 shot until maybe someone kind of emerges either in the last game, in the third game, or even possibly in the later second game. Then that's where we're going to probably see, who's going to be the number two quarterback. But right now, I think Will Levis is definitely in the running to win that job as far as being the number two quarterback in Tennessee.
do you think any of these quarterbacks are perhaps able to make a playoff push for the team?
Um, I honestly think maybe the only person, maybe Bryce Young. I think CJ Stroud's going to be. I think they're going to be.
I think they're going to be decent, man. I really
Yeah,
do.
I can see them winning anywhere between the Texans, anywhere between 7 to 8 games this year. I just don't
That,
think that's
yeah,
yeah, I just don't think that's going to get it done in the AFC just because the AFC is a lot more stacked than the NFC. And then being obviously Bryce Young's in that, that division, that's a pretty, it's not a great division. I mean, obviously you know the reports, what's going on over there in Tampa with Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield. So, and again, we just kind of touched on, the Panthers, depth chart and stuff. And as far as like, it's not a bad depth chart. I really think it's not a bad depth chart. I'm looking at it right now. Their defense is definitely much improved
they got
too.
a really good defense.
Yeah, very much improved defense. With Von Bell coming in, Xavier Woods coming in too on the back side of things, and then obviously keeping J.C. Horn, hopefully not injured this year. So keeping him healthy, I think that the Carolina Panthers could have a chance to honestly make the playoffs because of that division. And I think the only people that are going to be probably competing in that division is probably the Saints and maybe the Falcons. It really, I guess, just sees what they have in their quarterback with the Falcons, really.
Yeah, and Desmond Ritter. But I mean, Carolina, I would say they're in a pretty good spot.
Yep.
So the Texans, I think they're in a good spot too to have success here
I think so.
fairly soon.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, with D'Amico Ryans came in and pretty much he's setting the culture there. And
Yeah,
like I said, he made a lot of great moves that I liked this past year. Tons of great moves, but I think it's going to take a couple more off seasons to really get them where they need to be. I don't think as much as what they did this off season, I don't think that they just one off season can cure everything in the
yeah.
NFL. I think it's going to take them a couple off seasons to really kind of get them into the place where they want to be. But I think what they did this past off season, I think honestly was probably one of the best off seasons that you could have had in the NFL period.
Chris, all young quarterbacks in that division: Trevor Lawrence, C.J. Stroud,
Yep.
Anthony Richardson, and Bryce Young.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the future of the NFL is bright, you know, and when these young quarterbacks come in, mostly they're ready to play, right? I mean, the game of football has changed, the quarterback position has changed. A lot of these guys have 10,000 passing attempts before they even get into the NFL, right? Where they're working with Jordan Palmer and guys like this outside
Mm.
as well. as far as teaching them different skill sets, and just redefining their throwing motions, at a very young age. And so these guys are coming in, and that's why I think bringing in someone again like an Anthony Richardson, obviously like a Bryce Young, a CJ Stroud, I say play them right away. One, you have them on a rookie contract. You're able to do some different things within your organization and move some pieces and bring in some older people, and some well-established people that maybe you may not pay for if you have
Yeah.
if you're already paying your quarterback.
Yep.
But two, again, a lot of these guys are coming in and they're ready to play. They've had multiple snaps. They've played in some big games in college. So Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, they're not, they're nothing new to this pressure, right? I mean, obviously they played at Ohio State, they played in Alabama, they played in many championship games, tough games, tough atmospheres. And so I think when you are playing, again, when you're bringing in a quarterback that, one, you draft this high, and two, that has the skill sets of these young individuals, I think it's go time. I think it's put them in right away and let's see what you have. There's going to be some growing pains, but as part of the NFL, as part of learning, I think it's, like I said, I think it's smart to put them in right away and just see what they have.
Yeah, and correction on that, it was Will Levis, not Bryce Young. That's a whole different conference. So
Yeah, I got you.
correction on that. But yeah, man, no, I'm excited to see what these rookie quarterbacks are going to be able to do this season. And then there's another one that we haven't talked about that I want to kind of bring up. Aiden O'Connell,
Got you.
quarterback out of Purdue, that's with the Raiders now. Look, we know with Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, he gets hurt.
He does, and there are some talks as far as different things. That's what's going on within the organization and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, interesting to kind of see what that all can play out as.
I'm excited to see him play, Chris.
Yeah, I
On
mean,
Sunday.
so it looks like the Raiders will be playing the 49ers on
Next
Sunday
Sunday.
at 1 p.m. Yeah, so that's their first opening game. So I'm sure Aiden O'Connell will be starting that game. So, we'll see what he has pretty early in the preseason.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, I mean, Jimmy gets hurt, and the highlights I've seen, and the articles that's coming out, they're saying that Aiden O'Connell looks good out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the same thing. I've been hearing the same stuff. And, like I said, I mean, this is what preseason is for, to see specifically what you have in your quarterbacks that you're drafting early. And so, hey, Aiden O'Connell will be playing against the 49ers. Again, he's not going to be going against their top defense, but you know what? Uh, 49ers have a deep roster as
Yeah,
well. So
that'll be good.
we'll be able to see, what he is capable of pretty quickly here for sure. So
Yeah.
um, get him some snaps real early here. And again, if anything ever happens to Jimmy, we know that we have him, in the wings waiting and stuff. So
Yeah. We got David chiming in. Good Sunday morning. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks
good
for
morning.
joining and
Yep.
watching. But yeah, man, no, it's exciting. We're gonna see all these quarterbacks more than likely play this week.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
yeah, man, preseason week 1 is here.
Preseason week 1 is here. Yeah. One quick little note too. Obviously, Jordan Love. He'll be playing this week too, I'm sure. So we'll see kind of if he's going to be able to take the Packers to where they've obviously been the past several years with Aaron Rodgers.
A lot of people already wrote the kid off.
I mean,
Uh,
I've heard a lot of negativity, and I've even heard a lot of negativity with people that are actually inside the building. So that's what's interesting to see, is that they feel like he just doesn't have the juice, basically, of being an NFL quarterback. And I mean, this is his 4th year now, so we'll see pretty quickly whether he has it or not.
well, they drafted him for him to be the franchise quarterback after Aaron Rodgers, so we'll see if he pans out.
Yeah, here's this season, so let's see what happens.
Yep. All right, and that's going to go and do it for us on this edition of Inside That Pylon. Thank you so much for everyone out there for watching and listening. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.
Appreciate it. Thank you.